So we're so glad to see you, and I can't wait to bring out David Boreanaz, who's here to talk to you all. Come on out, David.
Hi. I have two mics. Sorry. I know, right? A little hysterical. Oh, thanks so much for having me here. I love coming back to Screen Actors Guild and being able to sit here among some peers here and discuss what we love to do. And that's creating a character and enjoying that process and what it takes, and also enjoying that with you beautiful thespians or artists that are out there. So thank you so much for coming in and watching the show.
Well, David, creating this character, creating Jason for SEAL Team, one thing that you had to do was kind of get into the mindset of a military guy, and we're just coming off Veterans Day celebrations, and I know it's been really important for you guys in the show to honor those veterans. Can you talk to us about sort of the conversations you had with some military guys, and I know you have some consultants on the show to kind of get into that mindset?
Yeah, we're so blessed to work with about 100+ veterans that are employed on our show, and we're really proud of that. When we started the show, we don't really like to call them technical advisors, so to speak. They're producers. They're people that help from the concept of the idea to the actual writing of the idea to the actual shooting of the idea, and to the actual post of the idea. So it's a process for them as well. So discussing their certain mindset, for me, especially for Jason, was when I first got the pilot, there was really nothing there on page. It was a blank canvas, and long story short, I didn't want to do the show because there was really nothing there, and they were going to shoot this in New Orleans, and I was like, I don't want to move my family to New Orleans. As much as I love it, it's not going to happen. They don't have an ice rink, so I can't play ice hockey. That was another priority. No hockey, so I can do that. So they cast another actor, and that didn't work out, and the role came back to me. And then during that time, I was thinking to myself, wow, this role, did I do the right thing? I kept thinking about it. And it came back to me, and hence I got this role, and I was able to meet a lot of them, a lot of Tier 1 operators and ex-Delta Force guys who really, for me, was able to get into their minds by talking to them about their stories, what makes them tick going into a certain situation, but more so about their personal lives, how they deal when they come home. To me, was really more about the soul of the character, to try and find him there. And from there, you kind of use all those small elements, and then you adapt them to your basic kind of technique of what you're using and what I use and who I coach with. So, but getting the minds of one of them specifically, Tyler Gray, who is an ex-Delta Force guy who's on the show. He's just fantastic to talk to. Mark Owen, who's an original Tier 1 guy. So those guys are 150% adrenaline. Hard to shut them down, and when they do get home, they're misunderstood. They're scared. I get emotional talking about it because it hits home for me. And when you can get an understanding of what they do, and then when they come home and how nobody sees that and recognizes it, they do you're a hero, you saved so-and-so, thank you. And then they go to the post office and they're misunderstood, or, again, the stigma of PTSD, and that's a whole other subject matter. People don't really understand PTSD. So being able to get in their minds was very helpful for the start of this character.
Well, we definitely see in this episode, there are many, many emotions that Jason goes through. I mean, you play so much. I don't know how many twists and turns we saw him go through emotionally. So was this a difficult episode for you to tackle because of all of that nuance and variety?
Yes, it was. It was extremely dark, and the places I wanted to go. I work with an acting coach by the name of Ivana Chubik, who's like my dearest of dear soul, heart. I've been working with her almost 20 years, and she allows yourself to go deeper inside of yourself to find things that to use subtextually, to kind of get to that fear and use that fear, or use what's relevant in your life to make it art. But we went into the episode, and I knew it was going to be this daunting episode. And I said, wow, we got to make it some levels here. We can't just have this straight out, mess. So specifically, we hit every moment in the script on the changes and the transitions and the bridges and what I was thinking to transfer that into this character. So there was a lot going on, and I think it's enlightening too. As an actor, you kind of dig deep into these wells that you shut, and you open them up again, and there's stuff all over there, and you're like, oh, I can grasp on that, and you work on it and you prepare for it, and then when you actually shoot it, you just let it all go, and it's kind of surprising what comes up. Anything can really kind of move your emotions in the moment. So for me, it was a really big test and focus, because I knew going into this episode, yeah, I go on set. I'm a fun guy. I'm gonna talk to everybody around. I was really kind of like down and people were like, "What's wrong with this guy? He's not the same. He's just." And I said, going into everybody, I said, "Listen, I'm just focused. I'm doing my work. Please don't take it personally." So yeah, it's tough.
Yeah, no, acting can be extremely exhausting. I mean, you're dealing with emotions that most people want to avoid most of the time, and you deal with them every day in your work. So, do you think it's important for an actor to be able to find very personal things from their life that they can use in a scene?
I think you use what your machine says you can use. I don't specifically say you should use this or that. I think that you have to use what your heart and your engine is telling you, whatever that may be, whatever your process is. It took me a long time to find out my process and what my engine is like, and how to find help and have that bridge. Many improvisational classes, early days of trying to figure out how to just put gum in my mouth and walk and do a commercial, and I couldn't do that, and it was so embarrassing. Things that would just drive me crazy, and forgetting lines, and doing auditions and scenes, and controlling your anxieties and your nerves, and you see this surface, but deep down you're just dying inside, and you're trying to keep it together. Like, I just got to get out of this door. All of that stuff. But their lights start to go on inside, and you find something that works. So what works for you, you need to find and explore that. You can't just say, I'm going to do that. Then I'm doing that and it's not working. It's like fitting circles and squares. You have to work what your engine calls for. Mm-hmm.
Is there a particular exercise that you do with your coach that's very helpful to you?
Drink some whiskey is always helpful. It's a big whiskey
So basically
girl.
Your coaching sessions are just you two
No,
drinking together.
There's a lot of different types of techniques that you can use in order to go to certain places. When we were doing the funeral scene, there's a coffin exercise you can do where you actually are seeing the person that you love in the coffin, and you see the casket closing, and it's trippy. It really is effective for certain moments. But you find things that are relevant in your life, and you use those. I use those in order to examine the character and add to the character and the conflict, and use the fear. Go into the fear rather than not go into the fear, I think, is the best way.
Is there a lot of fear in acting, would you say?
I think it depends on the person, but yeah, it's fearful. I mean, acting is a very vulnerable place, and you're opening yourself up to, and you're playing a character, and it's terrifying. And one of the things that I've learned over the time, and I'm still learning, is how to be comfortable in that fear. Really how to be able to sit still in silence, and to be able to kind of thread the needle, so to speak. Yeah. I mean, people have said that so many times, but sometimes less is better, and a look or a feeling inside can express so much more than this huge emotional outburst of what you're doing. So it really is it's a process that is tiring and fun, and you get a lot of gray hairs from it. You too.
Not so many.
Well, it's a lot of dye going up here. I mean, can't fight age forever. Right? I mean, it's,
Well, one more thing I wanted to talk about with this episode was your scenes with Neil Brown Jr., who plays Ray. What's kind of what have you come to for working with a scene partner on those one-on-one scenes? What is important to you to kind of achieve in a scene when you've just got that one-on-one with one other actor?
As you know, it's your objective is what's the context of the scene where you're going for. I've always found it fascinating how you can control a scene and kind of drive it sometimes, and inside your mind you're doing it, and you're taking this person down the path with you, and you're having fun with them, and you want to stop short and just kind of flip around and do some back hamstrings in somewhere else direction, and take a left and get on a bike and go up a hill and then fall down and do summer circles and then fall flat on your face and look at them and laugh and have a trippy experience and like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Being able to understand that Jedi kind of thing, that energy is quite remarkable. The mind and the energy is so intense. However you practice it, it's yoga or meditation. For me, it's ice hockey. I get on the ice, I hear white noise. I love the silence. I love the pace of a game. Some of the best athletes can control the speed of a game, which I find is fascinating to do, and to use that technique and while working with the scene partner, but also bringing them on a ride with them and being open to what they're saying. I think listening is so key. We all talk about listening, but are we really listening? There's techniques where you're kind of like, oh, you can watch the person's lips and repeat what they're saying, and then for the camera, it looks like you're really listening. and you're like, I'm just following their lips and what they're saying, and you're repeating it. Well, it works wonders technique-wise, but if you really sit and listen to it, and you're open to being vulnerable, that's where the magic really starts to happen.
Right. Well, you just described a whole journey to us, a mental journey, doing a scene with someone else. But you guys do a lot of physical work on this show as well. So is this the toughest job you've had physically, and how do you guys train to really look like you're on a real SEAL mission?
We train very specifically for the moments and the breaching and the military stuff where we rehearse the scene. We shoot our scene very much, if we want to go back to shows of like ER, Chris Chulak, who is the executive producer on their show, set the pace. We show up, we rehearse and shoot. We rehearse with cameras. We don't have marks. We generally light in certain areas, and we just go for it, which I think is a real raw, real kind of feel to it, and adds the energy and the fear of it and all. In doing that, what was your question again? I got so lost in the speed.
Okay. Well, you were going down those hallways. Like,
I was just going.
Oh yeah.
You go down these hallways, and you have you every specific turn. We have Tyler there, or someone who is a producer on the show who. We change dialogue on the fly. He wouldn't say it this way. You operate it this way. You go in on a breach door this way. The mechanics of walking and speed and efficiency and staying low, it's really physical on the legs and the knees and the hips and the shoulders. The first season, I thought my shoulder was crushed on the right side. I thought I re-injured my ACL injury on my left. It was just a wear and tear of the body and the mind, being able to compartmentalize it. When you're doing comm talks, it's like I'm talking to somebody, I got comms, I'm doing a scene, I'm trying to control this person over here, calm this person who's freaking out over here. So I got like 9 things going on in my head, and it's a blast. It really is a lot of fun, but the physical exertion of it catches you after the third day.
Yeah. Well, you've mentioned Tyler a couple times, and if you guys don't know, Tyler is actually, you see him on camera a lot. He's on the team. Mm-hmm. So do you want to talk about kind of, you mentioned that he will say things to you like, oh no, he wouldn't say it this way, or this is more genuine. What else does Tyler kind of do when you guys are working together for you?
Great jokes. I mean, fantastic guy, great personality. We have a very funny way of approaching the set and keeping humor alive, which I think is so important, especially when long hours and when you're shooting. He advises and goes over specific, again, dialogue or movements. Light to the director who is directing a sequence, how you would start the scene and end the scene, things like that.
Okay. I'm going to go to some of the questions that you guys put on cards. There's actually someone here who was in this episode. He played the surgeon who gave Jason some very, very bad news. And where are you? Hi.
How are you, Matt?
How you doing?
Sorry I didn't do a better job.
A great job. I remember that day. Well, sometimes you have to evoke emotions with just. That was an interesting sequence when we shot that. I was, And before that, we had shot me running in these. I chose these boots to run into because I wanted to feel the pain in my knees and how hard it was. Again, as an actor, I choose my clothes very specific to the character, and boots were. I just wanted a pair of specific boots for that one, just because it was harder. But when I got to you, I was dead, and you were fantastic. Bringing the news and the reception again. The show operates on a team level. You can't operate it on just a one-person thing here. We operate together. We work together. We find the scenes together, and that's the beauty of it all. So you were fantastic. Thank you. That was fun.
Well, one of the questions that Steve had was sort of how do you handle these challenges? I mean, you said after the third day you're so tired. Like, what do you do to still bring your best performance when you're really worn down? Because everybody who's an actor has had those days where they are just dead. And so, how do you what techniques do you use to kind of bring yourself back and keep going?
I think it's all in the preparation. I really believe in preparation. I'm all prep person. I believe you go to your coach, you prep. You beat the script up. You read it backwards, sideways, upside down. You got to know every character's dialogue. You don't just know your dialogue. You reread it. You rewrite it. You put it in different situations. And then you go and you work and you apply all your subtext to it. And then you get all that done. And then you get it in your body. And then when you show up, it's you're wherever you're at. It's there. It's in your body. And regardless, you're going to find something really unique and creative to draw upon because you've done the work. You've done it. It's like a director's got a shot list and he's so obsessed about getting shots. But if you are so obsessed about getting your shots and you're not in the moment with your actors and doing a scene, then you're going to lose because you're not getting the true essence of what you're trying to capture in a scene. So preparation is very, very key to me. Yeah, you're tired, have a cup of coffee, have some green tea, whatever. You get through it, you figure it out, but use it. Don't let it do the opposite to you, and you figure it out.
Do you end up using it on this show?
Oh yeah, I do. Yeah, I mean, just the tiredness.
Yeah.
Well, to me, I don't really call it tiredness. I think I would call it just an overflowing cup of love and craziness, man. Like it's a toxic drink of it's like Red Bull times 20, man. It's just nuts.
Yeah, well, yeah. I mean, if you've been on set, you're doing a night shoot or something, things can get
go. Yeah. Our sequences are really much 5 days shooting a lot, and then 3 days out. You're getting into the physical stuff, and you're going out to the field. If you're on deployment, if you're on a mission, your body is clocking it. So you have to pace yourself and listen to your body and know when to hit. I'm coming into a lot of physical stuff, so you kind of plan it.
Well, another question we have from our audience is, what are the responsibilities of a good leading man or woman?
To be open and vulnerable and to be humbled. I would suggest it would be like walking through those doors, the circular doors first, being a gentleman, opening a driver door for a woman before she gets in. I'm all about class and respect and honor. I was brought up with two older sisters, so my dad was always, I was Catholic. That's the guilt. That helps too in subtext.
Use your guilt,
Use your guilt in your religion, and I'll draw upon everything that's in your life that you just don't want to remember anymore. Just to start to go whatever you forgot, go get it, bring it back into your life and use it to create something. And I think all those things. I'm a fan of. I generally have a sense of antiques and old stuff, and I think those are the qualities. You possess them, and you hold them, and you just charge. It's like a quarterback, or I love sports, so I speak very much in sports metaphors. So.
What position do you play in hockey?
I play forward.
You play forward.
Yes.
Shocker. Yeah. So what, someone else wanted to know, who were the actors that inspired you early on? What actors did you love?
Well, there was a few. I mean, I was able to see Yul Brynner on stage in The King and I, and I was like, whoa, who's this guy, man? He came out as the king, even after the performance, and it was in Philadelphia, and I was on stage. And I think it was like 7 or 8, and I was just I was just like, this guy is awesome. Who is this? I want to be the king. He had such an energy about himself playing that role. It was just impacted me so much to be able to be blessed to be able to sit in the theater and see him. And actresses like Maggie Smith. I mean, I like all the old time actors, Burt Lancaster, Gregory Peck. To me, was just the stature of a man that you can, stuff like that. Actors, Steve McQueen, the coolest guy ever. You just kind of look at you and you're like, okay, you're cool. You always want to be that cool guy, man. You want to be the guy who can play the drums really cool. You show up at a bar and you're like, some dude's playing drums. I'm like, I really wanted to do that. I still can't play drums. I tried, but there's a lot of performances that I really loved. I mean, I love Tootsie, Dustin Hoffman, and Tootsie, just a remarkable man who was just went into his characters and lost himself. And I thought Brando was deep and like cathartic and like an animal. You look at what types of methods you want to study. It's just, you kind of look into that and when it was studied, what decade, and how to use it. And some people can jive into that. Sam Shepard, my favorite playwright. I'm more of a Sam Shepard guy than I am a Shakespearean guy. I wasn't trained classically, so I'm more about the streets, the experience, and going out and having a good time.
Great. I like that. So is that the advice you'd give to your younger self? That was another question we had.
So advice to my younger self.
What advice would you give to your younger self?
Younger self. Don't open up the Stretch Armstrong doll. Because what you think is really cool on the inside is going to be a disaster once it gets out. That's my advice.
So
you
just
could take and run with that one.
So that's the one moment. What about in your acting career? What advice would you give to your younger self as far as acting?
Well, I started so relatively late. I mean, I wouldn't beat myself up so much and be so like, man, it's the end of the world. You're gonna die. And this experience is like, I did this commercial, and it was David Fincher was doing these set of commercials in the early 90s, and it was like these one-line movie lines, and I was one of the guys coming, open the pod bay door, hail. That was my line coming in, as everybody was throwing these lines back and forth. Oh, fuck, I couldn't remember that line. I was so damn nervous. I was like, I had the outfit on. I looked like this dude from the early 90s, man. It was like Nirvana was cranking. It was the grunge time, and I just like opened the pod bay doors, hail. I literally had it written on the cardboard box. I was like, open hail pod. Shit, fuck, what am I doing, man? I was just like a disaster I just couldn't. I would just tell myself, you just need to. And I went to Ithaca, so I was pretty much a chill guy, Grateful Dead, soulful guy, ride your mountain bike, Jones for some juice here and there. But that goes my Jeff Bridges. Love for Jeff Bridges too, I must say. Very big, huge fan of Jeff. And I think it's really about the that essence of just trying to just don't take things so serious. Like it's going to work out regardless of what your passion is. But you really have to be happy. Like if you're not happy doing it, just don't do it. Just go somewhere else. Do something else. Be a part of something else. You can be a part of the process, but if you're not happy, then why are you doing it?
Right. Well, speaking of other kind of aspects of the job, you have directed, right? So what's it like to sort of step into that role as an actor? How's that different for you? And did you like it?
I love it. I mean, I love the directing aspect of it and the producing aspect of it. I'm fortunate to do those on the show and on past shows. And to be able to direct is extremely different animal because you're driving the boat. You're the captain and everything falls on you. And if there's time problems, you're not getting your scenes, everything falls on you. No matter if the special effects thing doesn't work and it blows up and you're an hour over, well, you can't just be like, well, it's the special effects that we had a problem. No, sorry. It's all on you, man. You're directing this ship. That's your ship.
You're the forward.
You're forward and taking it. So directing and acting at the same time is a very compartmentalized job to do, and it's definitely it's a challenge. There's a lot of adversities. There's a lot of walls you have to break through. Again, I kind of attack my directing like I would attack my acting and understand the actors and what they're going through in a scene, how I can communicate with them and how I can help manage their anxieties or what their needs are. Because a lot of times you show up on a set and a director's like, you're going to do this, you're going to do that, and you're going to say this. And you're like, well, wait a second. I just prepared for all this. I'm bringing a character to life. And you're telling me to go here, and then I got to turn over there. And then no matter what you say, if the actor's uncomfortable, you'll never get the performance that you'll want. You will never get it. Don't look at, there's certain camera sequences you want to get. I can understand technically if it depends on it, but you have to learn how to communicate and talk to the actor and make them feel wanted. We all want to feel wanted. We all want skin in the game.
Yeah.
Creatively, during the process, during the dialogue, we want to bring things out, whether it's through props, how we dress, how we look, how we work. We want to add that. So that's how I love when I direct. I love it. I love getting people out. I like rehearsing, and then I just like to go and have fun. And that's what we're doing here. Is just having a good time.
Is there anything that's changed in the way you approach a scene since you started directing? Did it change your performance in any way?
It's tough. Well, when you first you're sequencing a shot, and then you're rehearsing it, and you find it, and then now you have to okay, now I have to go set some cameras up, and I have to set that. That's a whole nother ball game, and you're. When you start, then you got to leave and trust, and then you got to go into a character and start to do the scene. There are a couple times where I'm just at the beginning, I'm acting, I'm not there. I'm behind the fucking, my head's somewhere else. I'm stop. We got to just start because this is not coming out right. So those types of moments do happen.
Right.
So you just gotta take a break. It's all about trust.
Right.
A really big trust thing.
I think for actors who are just starting out or don't have a resume like yours, sometimes it's hard to speak up on a set. It's hard to say, look, this is never going to work, or I have some input. What's a good way to sort of bring that up, bring that into the conversation?
Do it. Just do it. I swear it. Just do it. I did it. I was in this movie. I think it was The Crow 90. I don't know which one it was. I had so many independents I've done. But I was working with Dennis Hopper, and I played the Antichrist, right? And we were rehearsing the scene, and literally the director was, God bless him, just wasn't getting it. So we were all there and did this whole sequence, and we rehearsed it, and I came on, I had this outfit on, and my hair was jet black. It was slick, and at the end, I took my comb, and I was when I licked my comb, and I did all this thing, and it's all right, it's great. And then the director is well, can you just do this, this, and this? And so he was trying to chop into my performances, and Dennis Hopper's wait a second, what about the comb, man? That was you got to keep the comb part where you're licking the comb. That was badass. I'm I'm with him, man. So. You really have to test. Just go for it. Don't be bullied out. Don't let that confidence get crushed by somebody else. Find ways to make it work for you. If you're doing a scene with somebody, find something you can. McQueen was great at that. He used to drive Yul Brynner crazy because he would always be playing with props or doing something. He'd steal scenes, but he would do it for the character. And you can find ways, and you can also ask and talk to your fellow actor too. And if they're in a bad mood, I'm sorry. I think that we experience a lot of stuff on set that the actor's not happy because he didn't get breakfast, or the fucking bacon's not cooked right, or he had a bad day, or it's and then there you are, and you're trying to just please, God, have everyone be happy. I just got to do this scene. I want to do my character. I got everything to say. I'm really just not this director. He's going to scream at me. There's all these voices that are going on in your head. Shut them off. Check them at the front door, and just come in with your game and do your game. Do your job and get out. Don't talk a lot. Just do your job and just get out. That's my biggest advice.
Yeah.
I mean, when I was on Bones, I was so impressed by the amount of guest actors that would come in, crush scenes, whether it would be doing a scene about this technical jargon, putting something behind it, or I was interrogating people, and they just went on to become some great actors and have their own shows and were successful. And you could see it. You can see it the way they came in.
Right. They were ready.
They were ready, prepared. Yeah. Be prepared. Yeah.
No, that's all great. That's great advice. It's very positive. So you guys are going to picture Dennis Hopper and David Boreanaz, and you're going to speak up for yourselves when it's necessary.
We had a great time on that. By the way, we actually were shot up, and Macy Gray was there, and I don't know. It was Tara Reid. I was marrying Tara Reid. It was Eddie Furlong was coughing up in the distance. I don't know. It was
so you can have fun in even the most absurd
oh my God.
situation.
Me and Dennis Hopper, there were these feathers were flying. There were supposed to be these guns that shot us. And we got shot dead, and I'm dead. And all of a sudden I look up and I see these feathers. I'm where the hell are these feathers coming from? And the guy's like, well, they were from the pillows. The pillows were like across the hall, like over there. I'm like, how the hell did from the gunshots? So Dennis Hopper was he's like, where are these feathers? So we proceeded to have this acid flashback humor, like laughing fest. Couldn't get through the scene, but it was a great moment in my life. God bless him. It was great.
Well, we'll close with this. When you're in the second season of SEAL and you're going forward with this character, he's established, we know who he is. What is exciting to you right now about what to tackle next with Jason? What are you thinking about, and are you talking to your writers and director about that?
Yeah, we discuss and we sit down as producers and we crush the season out. We did 2, and when we decided to kill my wife, it was something that I brought to the table because I thought it would be great for character story, and she had gotten a job at NBC, so that actually was part of the reason. Mm-hmm. But we do discuss the arcs. We know where we're going. After we get through this, we go to Mexico City, and then we have some soft shows. And when I say just bottle shows in between, then we go to the Philippines for deployment. Jason Hayes needs to kind of heal, get back in the game, get his skin back in the game, which he does, have a little fun with the guys. I don't see any kind of relationships kind of heading, but I am creating relationships with characters. I do that. I've done that. I started that last season. I could say with Mandy, I've been doing that constantly. I think that as my job is to tap into that relationship and show that it's not a relationship that's building, but it's a relationship of the past. So for me, I'm tackling it from a different perspective. With Bones, it was, it's new and we're going to kiss and we're going to jump that shark. Mm-hmm. This one, for me, my perspective is, well, we've done it. We've have a past that people don't know about. So I work on that, and I want to really get into the darkness of the shadows of these guys when they're home. There's a lot of tragic stories that happen, and it's all now not happy, and there's some dark moments, and if we can do that as a show, then and express those and look at those, and it's going to be a long hard ride, but I'm ready for it.
Great. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for being here, and thank you guys for coming.
Thank you so much for coming.
So much fun.
It.
Thank you.
Thank you.